almost feel like inadvertently he's bearing the sins of an entire decadent generation and having it just aired out.
Anybody been watching Netflix? You know, they're
Uh,
really
I,
pumping the show coming up September 25th with Vince McMahon.
yes, they are. They
And
are.
well, this is funny. I had Laura watch some of it last night. I said, "You got to come and watch this."
Uh huh.
And because I've told her, over the stories that what he was really like to work for.
Yeah.
And when she saw that, she said, "Oh my God!" Of course, she can't stand him, but a lot of
So she
people
watched the
can't.
trailer, Greg? Did she watch the trailer?
Yeah, the trailers. Yeah,
Yeah,
have you
man.
seen them, TA?
Have you seen the trailer? Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's
it's going to be, well, it's going to be good programming for Netflix. Bottom
Yeah,
line,
yeah,
a
that's what
lot
it
of people are
is.
going to watch it. A lot of people love to watch a train wreck. You know,
Yeah,
and it's going to be one of those kind of stories. And is it going to hurt the amazing thing the business is right now? Absolutely not. You're going to have everything
no,
to do
No.
whatsoever. If anything, it's just going to continue to elevate this new iteration that they've blossomed into. With without that tyranny thing that was going on there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'll watch it. I don't know if I'll watch all how many episodes of it that there is,
yeah.
but it'll be a good watch. I mean, again, they're doing it for programming and for numbers, and there will be enough interested
And they'll
people
get that for sure.
that they'll get it. So
I love the job that Triple H is doing at the company right now.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean,
He's
they are really back to great storytelling, and the matches have been terrific. I can see a big change from when Vince had it. You know, if, to me, in being around him, Vince didn't really have a real respect for the talent.
mm-hmm.
It was all about him.
Mm-hmm.
And Triple H, from being in the industry and starting at the bottom and working your way up from what we all did. I mean, I used to put up the ring, and I had to referee and drive the ring truck before they ever let me get in the ring. And you learn that whole. It was great because you learn about the industry from every part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, watching Triple H operate that's the way he is. And he gives everybody an opportunity and respects everybody in their positions. And, I think they're doing fantastic, and they're just going to keep it on the roll.
Well, Greg, when it comes to McMahon and his handling a certain talent and everything like that, did he have a certain respect and reverence for the business itself in a way that, like, kind of like, okay, I do appreciate some of the legends that came their way and kind of paved the way for the business, or was it like kind of his way or the highway kind of
It was
thing?
his way or the highway,
Okay.
basically. He used to, when we'd go into an arena, and we got the TV show coming up, he had everybody there, the production people, not the wrestlers, but Dusty Rhodes, Michael Hayes, myself, whoever the other guys were at that time. And then he would lay out, and he would get up in front of everybody and say, "Here's how I see it." And then he would ask everybody what they thought.
Uh huh.
And 9 times out of 10, everybody, "Oh yeah, 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 yeah." Well, he finally gets to Dusty, and Dusty says, "No, I don't agree with that. I think it should go like this."
Mm-hmm.
And he nodded, and then he called me, and I said, "Well, I agree with Dusty," and I laid out, why I thought it should go this way. And it wasn't long after, but he took it all in, but he did it his way.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and eventually, I guess I just said too many things that he didn't like because I was gone. But you know what? He didn't like to be confronted.
Right. Yeah.
He would lay it out. This is the way it's going to go. But what's your opinion? And then you give your opinion, and he didn't give a shit about your opinion. He's going to do it his way, which, it's very successful for a long, long time. But at some point, operating like that, people aren't going to like you, and you're not going to get the best out of them.
Sure, it's like a walking on eggshells kind of deal where it's like, you're in an ecoscape. Because I do hear mixed things. Like Vince would be receptive. He would almost want you to combat him back and be like, "Hey, no, this is what I think," and like kind of be a little bit more abrasive when it comes to certain things. But
Well,
then
I don't know. I did that.
and it didn't work too well. Didn't work too well for you, huh?
Maybe it was my presentation.
Magnum, how often did you ever cross paths with Vince or?
Never worked for him one day except for going and doing a pay-per-view for him. They had a Legends show. As a matter of fact, it's the fateful weekend when the Benoit whole fiasco took place.
Really? Wow.
I was in Texas on that pay-per-view, and Benoit was supposed to be there, and it was a no-show. And then we found out all the stuff that happened because they were there the next night, and that's when they did the 2-hour special all about, before anybody knew what had really taken place. And and so, I was around him there. I was around him at Dusty's funeral. He was very cool with me, but we probably didn't exchange 15 words, and had I had the opportunity to work for him as a talent, I'm sure it would have been a different relationship even yet, because I had kind of a different take on the business because I'd come from the Eddie Graham / Bill Watts school of wrestling, and which was kind of the old school deal. And I think I've told the story before, but when Andre gave me the name and dubbed me Magnum, his idea was for me to go to New York, and then Senior was still living, and that's where I was going to go and launch this Magnum TA character. And so I may have had a completely different career path, literally, had I followed Andre up and let him open the door for me, as he did. And I like I said, I think with talent that he could make money with, he probably had a certain amount of tolerance and a certain amount of things. But the minute someone fell out of his grace, something went wrong. He was totally enamored with the Ultimate Warrior, his first run, and it's like when it went bad, not so much like a business relationship, but almost like a a personal relationship that went bad, and he was almost like jilted or something because the two of them had parted ways. So, I'm sure he had to be a very passionate man to invested himself just so wholeheartedly in the business. And you can't, if you can just take the blinders off and block off the things that you knew went on behind the scenes. Because frankly, let's be brutally honest. If we could take back and go back in a time capsule and from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and go all behind the scenes and capture all the things that took place, there's a whole lot of people that wouldn't be, revered or looked at the same or measured the same, if you could see that. So he's had the unfortunate, situation of finding himself in, he made a lot of enemies along the way, male and female. And when that house starts falling apart and all the things that you thought you'd quietly put behind you come out, it's horrendous. But again, I would throw rocks because I'm saying you could line 100 guys up and paint the worst picture imaginable if you could have captured, all the indiscretions and things that went on that were more than colorful.
Absolutely.
Outside the ring.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting characters in pro wrestling, and Vince McMahon's just one of them. But he's the biggest.
You have to give Vince a lot of credit too. He went out on a limb.
Yeah, he put a lot of risk on himself.
Yeah, he did. He put a lot of risk out there. and he wanted to do it his way, and he wanted to build, and they've built this empire that is second to none. It ranks right up there with the NFL.
Sure. Yeah.
And his vision, he brought it to life. I don't think there was anybody else in the business at that time that could do that. There's guys that wanted to, but with their relationships with each other, the other promoters, they weren't going to step on each other's toes.
Right.
And Vince had no relationship with anybody, and he didn't give a who he stepped on there, who he put out of business. He was going to do it his way. And in the long run, and I think about that a lot and look back, and he's taken wrestling to the level that we all wanted it to be,
Right.
like the NFL, and right in that category. And you have to give the guy credit for that, no matter what you think of him personally.
And you know what, Greg? I think what you kind of laid out there is like, he's he created a lot of enemies, and Magnum, you said that too, and he's created all this, with certainly, whatever these allegations may be and however that comes to fruition. But you kind of look at it from, he really did surround himself in a bubble on his own accord, where it's kind of like, okay, I'm in WWE, this is my world, this is my thing. And then he'd never branch out outside of like the outside elements. If you probably talked to him about sports, he wouldn't know anything about like the organized sports or anything when it comes to certain things like that. Whereas a lot of these other talents brought that in. Like you look at like a Jim Ross would always bring up somebody's football background, or like Vern was great at doing that too, I'm sure, it's had a certain reverence for all that stuff. Whereas Vince was just in his universe. So him getting outed and booted out of the WWE, and you see what Triple H has been able to do, and bringing somebody, Nick Khan got brought in too by both Vince and Triple H, his connections with the sports world and everything like that. It creates this whole new element. We see somebody like Joe Tessitore take over Raw as the voice for it and bring another element into it. So there's this outside elements coming into play into the WWE ecoscape, and I think that's kind of refreshed the brand in a lot of great ways that Vince was not able to do. So, very interesting stuff.
Vince, one of the biggest contributors to what we now enjoy ever in the history of the business. A saint, absolutely not. And I almost feel like inadvertently he's bearing the sins of an entire decadent generation and having it just aired out, because I promise you, is wild and horrendous, and oh my gosh, is those 60 pages or whatever that thing was, that I could probably name 20 people right off the top of my head that could fill a dossier to make him look like a choir boy.
Oh my gosh.
So there's that.
Okay, Nate.